Welcome to the Mary D Show. I'm your host, Mary D, here to be your guide as we extract wisdom and life lessons from thought leaders, artists, spiritual luminaries, and wellness experts. In 2018, I healed from breast cancer without the use of chemotherapy or pharmaceuticals. I love biohacking and plant medicine and what it means to be in relationship with spirit so that we can feel whole and complete. I want to sprinkle you with some hope dust, tickle your funny bone, and inspire you to find your inner roar. Get ready to live your most aligned, purposeful, and joy-filled life now. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have all of you joining us here today. I have a very special guest. I want you all to meet Leslie Grace. She is an RN and the Vibrant Journey Alchemist. She's also a soul mentor and a #1 Wall Street Journal bestselling co-author who is sparking a movement of leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries who are ready to make peace with their demons and unleash their full potential as the sexy, heart-centered creators and creatrixes of the most magnificent collective future we could ever dream of. Her approach utilizes a unique blend of psychedelic healing, Hakomi somatic therapy, and conscious sexuality practices, all backed by her own deepening practice of Vajrayana Buddhism. Leslie is no stranger to breaking free from limiting beliefs, having escaped her Catholic upbringing and former career in end-of-life care to embark on an orgasmic, revelatory journey with plant medicine. With over 15 years of intentional psychedelic exploration, she trusts her intuition above all else, making her truly an authority in her field. Leslie, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. So exciting. I'm really glad to get to talk with you. And
yes,
wonderful to get to meet you at the Transcendence event. And it just felt so exciting, all the layers of overlap.
Yes. Kindred souls right away. I think we have a common purpose just coming from some different angles in mind for people. Let's start with something easy. And something easy would say, tell me about how a recovering Catholic finds Buddhism. Like, how does that even happen? Where does that show up from? Did an angel fall out of the sky and deliver a note that said, hey, switch gears? Or was it something totally different?
Great question. So, I was raised Catholic in the Midwest, pretty conservative upbringing, and I left the church in my teen years. I just kind of was like, hey, something about this isn't adding up. That's not what I'm believing. But I always knew there was something going on with the universe. I was like, there's some intelligence, there's something mystical here. There's something more to discover. And during college, I studied biopsychology and cognitive science, and I was really wanting to understand the nature of the mind and consciousness and what is perception? What is cognition? How does this work? And at the same time, I was studying Intro to Buddhism and Eastern thought. And it started to become very curious, like, what is consciousness all about? And around that time, I also started experimenting with different kinds of psychedelics, but more so as kind of like a take some mushrooms and go to the woods with my friends kind of thing. And started to have some experiences that were like, okay, there's more to this picture. I hadn't yet really delved into it in a very conscious way, but it was enticing and showed me that there's a lot more to discover. And so I started meditating around that time and reading everything I could get my hands on and became a pretty voracious spiritual seeker. Around that time, I also read a book called The Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, a very popular text. And it really was talking about what is a bodhisattva? What does it mean to be a being who is really living their life in service to the world, in service to the awakening and liberation of all beings? What does that mean to devote my life to others? And that really resonated deeply, and I felt the soul calling on that path.
I love that. Soul calling. Oh, that's so good. Well, I'm glad that you followed that calling because obviously it's bringing us to this point in time today where you get to share a little bit more about that. One of the things that I love is this title, Journey Alchemist for Successful Seekers. Tell us, what is a seeker? Who are they? How do you know you've met one, or how do you know that you are one?
Well, I'm meeting more and more successful seekers these days. Successful seekers, I think, are folks who they've really focused on career. They've really focused on creating the life that they want. They have really done a lot of work on themselves. They've gotten themselves to quite an impressive place in their life. And perhaps they feel like, okay, wow, they're like 95% of the way to where they want to be. But there's something else. There's some stone that they haven't uncovered. There's some mystery that they have yet to really unfurl, or, some rabbit hole that they haven't quite begun to go down yet. I find that most people, no matter how successful they've become in business, they may have the perfect life, the family, the 2 kids, the picket fence, everything, but there's some gnawing in their being. It's that deeper call, like, what is that inner life that I have yet to really explore? So they're seeking for something. They're seeking for wholeness. They're seeking for a more vibrant existence, more expression, more joy, more pleasure. There's some like, I really want to like grasp life fully. And they know that there's more, and they don't quite know exactly where it is, but they may know like, there's something for me.
Okay. I love that. I was at the grocery store the other day, and this older man was in the dairy aisle, and I'm standing there. I can't remember what I was looking for, but I'm standing there, and he turns around to me and he goes, "Rich people have no problems. Everything in the world is great for them." And I was like, wow, that's a really random statement to a stranger in the dairy aisle. Yeah. Yeah. I was totally like taken aback. And I was like, yeah, I actually agree with that. I said, I think that money certainly gives people a lot more options when you have some financial security. I said, but I don't think it solves all your problems. I said, I think probably a lot of people would tell you that it gives you a new set of problems, just a different set of problems that you don't have when you don't have any money. He kind of turned around, and so I walked away, and I was like, that was the most awkward conversation I think I've had in a very long time. And then I get in line, I know, and of course here he comes, and he's in line right behind my mom and I, and he says the same thing. I said, actually, I grew up pretty poor. I said, we were pretty happy. I said, money wouldn't have solved all of our problems, and I don't know that it solves all the world's problems. And I was like, and I think that it's elusive to say that money solves every problem, or that people who have money aren't happy, because I think this leads into part of that, right? I think that the first layer that we are all programmed to believe is that we get out of school, we should go make a lot of money so that we can take care of our family, and that will solve many of our problems. And what I find more often than not is that can actually become a very lonely place, because then sometimes people get stuck in, I don't know who to trust. Are people just with me because I have money? That becomes a whole layer of things. Or people are great at making money, but they're terrible with relationships. They can't find joy. So would you say that is also the type of person that would come work with you and come and have this experience to be able to maybe get down deep and figure out, like, how do we move some of these other...
Yeah, it is real wholeness. You look at the Maslow's hierarchy, right? Like having your basic needs covered, having financial security, all that. That's one layer of it. But then there's like, wow, I want to feel really connected and safe emotionally in my relationships. Oh, I want to feel that sense of self-actualization. Like, who am I really as a being? What am I here for? What's my purpose? These kind of deeper callings. And then with the Maslow's hierarchy, what we've all seen is that self-actualization is at the tip of it. But actually, right before his death, in the years before his death, he actually identified a new layer above that even, which is self-transcendence. And this has been part of my thought process lately around, we all want to find happiness. We all want to find wholeness. If I'm just looking at myself in a vacuum, that's not actually wholeness. That's not actually what's going to bring me the most joy. It actually is going to bring me the most joy and fulfillment to be the best version of myself, and then to actually serve and be connected to others and community and the world, and kind of look beyond myself. So I feel like that calling to something greater is what helps us be the most fulfilled version of ourselves.
I love that. Yeah. And I think the other thing too is there's so much value and pressure people put on themselves in achievement. And so if a company fails, or if they have to file bankruptcy, then they feel devastated because all of their identity is wrapped up in the value they bring in how they achieve or make money versus the value they are, that they exist, that they be.
Right. Well, and the interesting thing is that, it all comes down to like, what is motivating one's drive in the world, the drive toward success. Oftentimes those are strategies that are coming out of like some deeper sense of not being worthy as I am, not being lovable, not being enough. So I have to achieve, I have to reach the top of the mountain, and then I'll be enough. And successful seekers have reached a fair amount of success, and they're like, well, this isn't quite giving me that internal sense of well-being and fulfillment and love and enoughness that I always thought it might. So it's interesting because when people are kind of on their way up the mountain, they're on their way to that first big win or whatever, they think to themselves, oh, when I get there, then I'll be happy. But those that have gotten there and go, wait a minute, this isn't it, right? It's something else. I too used to be a high achiever. I was that like, I'm going to get straight A's my whole life. I'm going to be the perfect good girl. My Catholic guilt, shame. I was like, ooh, I knew I was a sinner. I knew I was a bad girl, but I knew I was going to I was going to get into heaven and I was going to just get every extra credit point and gold star. And, it made me into somebody who's very industrious and I know how to get shit done. And I'm grateful for that. But that's a strategy to try to get love. It's a pale comparison of the real thing. So,
yes, it's such a good way to put it. I feel like oftentimes, and I've been down this road as I've shared with you also on religion and our upbringing and what we learn or what other people teach us about what love is or who God is or how we're getting into heaven. And there's so much wrapped into that actually does fall into am I following the rules? Can I be a good rule follower? And can I be that good girl, that good boy? And what actually comes out of that? Like, how do those beliefs early on translate into the other areas of our life? And more often than not, I see a lot of actual unfulfillment versus fulfillment. So if you're terrible at following instructions or if you're terrible at following rules, then it's easy to throw your hands up and be like, well, I guess I'll never be perfect. I should just put myself in the sinner category and keep on going.
One of the big misconceptions here that I think many religions where there's the sense of God is out there somewhere else other than here in my life. It's this kind of transcendent, like I'm going to go up and out to get to the divine way over there, right? The modern tantric Buddhist path is really about like coming into the body, coming into our life. I mean, the medicine path is to see, the sacred in all things, to see myself as an emanation of the divine. It's like, wow, we're all connected in this vast mystery together. It's not like God's over there somewhere and I should pray to that God. It's like, wow, I should pay honor and respect to all facets of my world, even the things that are challenging, even the relationships that have really shaped me in ways that were good or not so good, or, like it's all part of the sacred unfolding and to see ourselves as part of that. So I didn't first have that recognition of life until I experienced plant medicine. And that was really the first moment where I was like, oh, wow, there is a God and I do believe in God, but it's also me and it's everything and it's nature and it's life and it's love and it's so much bigger than some conception we may have of some white guy in the sky with
a white guy in the sky. I love that. It's great. Yeah, I would agree with that. I feel like I've actually had a really close relationship with God since I was very young. Like I have so many beautiful memories of just feeling protected and knowing that I'm not alone, that I'm not alone in my journey. And in addition to that, I think one of my most fascinating, deep, resonant experiences was actually my very first time that I sat with grandmother medicine. And that was very like, oh, wow, God really, we held hands all weekend, like it was just that level of intimacy with the divine. And that was one of my first kind of eye-opening experiences to like, oh, there's definitely more to life than, like, Sunday school.
Beauty, like heartbreaking. Wow, how could it be this beautiful, right? How could I be a part of something that beautiful?
Yes, and that we are all a part of it is really, really the beautiful part. Tell me what you wish you had known before you got into this work.
Well, what I wish that I've known. Okay. I think I used to think that healing work of any kind, whether it's therapy, counseling, medicine work, this individual is going on their healing path and I'm this broken version of me and I'm going to improve myself. I'm going to make myself better so that I'll arrive at a better version of me. There's some truth to that on some layer, but it's like, there's no place to arrive to. There's no, and now you've gone from point A to point B and now you've arrived. It's like, oh, wow, stepping onto this path is actually more of I'm committing to continually unfolding. It's not like, oh, I got to race to the finish line so that finally I'll be lovable and enough and I'll feel my self-love and ding, I've arrived. I got my self-love badge or something. It's like, oh, I'm choosing to continue to over and over throw away any idea that I have about myself or life or what I should be doing. It's like, it's continuing to readdress, to redefine, to reformulate, to continue to transform, like moment by moment forever. I mean, we're not going to stop transforming and evolving. There's no there to get to. People sometimes ask me like, oh, if I do this psychedelic work, is everything going to feel okay? And I'm like, well, maybe, maybe not. It's going to be different. It's going to evolve. It's going to reveal more. But I feel like it's like layers of the onion, and you peel the one layer that you're ready to peel. And then there's something else that's there. And that kind of changes everything. And wow. And then you kind of work with that layer, and then, and lo and behold, there's more. And it's like the never ending nesting dolls of evolution. I mean, this is where we're at. So sort of more like getting comfortable with the process rather than thinking there's anywhere to get to. And then I'll like, sing, be done.
Yes. Yeah. We are very destination focused. I feel like that's also just programming. There's a destination to get to. There's always an achievement. There's always some trophy at the end of some path versus the joy that you said, like you described it, of being on the journey and just being the experience as they come over and over. Yeah.
Another aspect of it is like, I used to think, I have a certain amount of trauma. I have a certain amount of sadness. I have a certain amount of negativity or negative beliefs. And I have to kind of like do my healing, and I'm going to sort of like systematically eradicate those things. And then I'll be done with them. And then, I'll be free from those things, right? Mm-hmm. It's like more so about, I'm going to conquer these fears, or I'm going to get rid of this trauma. We're not going to like throw our inner child off a cliff somewhere and be like, I'm over all that sadness from the past. It's more like, wow, finding a wholeness and a sense of presence and like all encompassing compassion that's larger than whatever our fears and traumas have been, that lets us include those as part of what makes us human and whole, and part of what lets us be more compassionate with others. It's like, oh, wow, my wholeness doesn't need to eradicate any parts of me. It can include and be enriched by all those facets.
And so much of this can be, I think, a start to bring people back to the reminder of self-love is the answer in so much of it. And if we just start with that, like what a beautiful baseline to start from, and then watch everything unfold, because then we are more accepting, and we don't expect ourselves to be perfect. And when we don't expect ourselves to be perfect, we also meet others and don't expect them to be perfect. And then we have much greater levels of acceptance and compassion. And I feel like that's where, we become less judgmental and there's less division. I always like to say that if the answer is something that's going to bring me closer and connected to nature, a human, a thing, a person, then that's going to be the answer. If it connects me, if it divides me, then I'm going to be really suspicious. Like, what is going on right now? And that's how I like to approach any of the new news headlines that come across the table. I'm like, is this dividing us, or is this bringing us together?
Humbling process, because I think that there's a lot of different levels on which to walk our path. And there was a level where I very much used to be like, enlightenment or bust. I'm gonna kill my ego. I'm gonna eradicate that. I'm gonna move forward. Then I'm gonna be some perfect human. Well, that's just one more strategy of the separate self. That's one more strategy of the part of me that felt not enough as it was. And now it's like, okay, wow, it's actually not about that, right? How much can I love all the parts of me, and not just like, I'm going to love only the me who's confident and happy, right? But like, oh, wow, I can love the part of me that's like, hey, I'm freaking out right now. Hey, like, I need to rest,
Yes and yes. You used to do work with end-of-life care. So I'm curious how much of that, seeing that work, being in that work, led you down a path of maybe questions or curiosity, or just got you to maybe where you are now as well in terms of being a seeker yourself. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I think that's fascinating work, and I think it takes a very deeply compassionate person to do it. So kudos to you for the time that you've spent in that work, because I imagine that it's really difficult. Yeah.
When I was doing my first degree in biopsychology, I realized I want to be of service to people. I want to help people, but I didn't really want to go down the grad school research, that academic path. And so I decided to go into nursing, actually because I wanted to be a midwife. I wanted to catch babies and welcome life into the world. And Somehow, though, I got fascinated by end of life care, and I worked in the intensive care unit for several years and then also in hospice. Being with the end of life, it was a lot of real human suffering, real, pain, real families going through a lot of grief. And to work with people in that way, my main role, I feel like there was a lot I was doing to care for the patients, obviously. But in terms of like being a spiritual presence for the patient and their family, it was really like I was holding the space of, hey, and this is all okay. Ultimately, safe, healthy, it's fine. It's actually like can be a beautiful thing. And so it was my role to kind of hold that perspective and emanate that understanding. And actually, obviously, in intensive care, there's the desire to keep people alive at all costs on machinery. And I think that there's people who absolutely need that and they can really come back and live a fulfilling life. But often there was this kind of like fear of death, fear of the unknown, like, oh no, it's like the worst thing that could happen in Western medicine. Yep. So going into hospice was really eye-opening for me. And I got to witness some really beautiful deaths. I got to witness families who were, they had said everything they needed to say. They knew, okay, grandma's old, it's time. And they were really, really ready to just, wish their loved one well. And even patients who, I had some really beautiful conversations with patients who were dying of cancer, well before their time kind of thing. But they were just like, hey, I'm ready. I'm willing to just surrender to whatever this is. And I witnessed some deaths where people just let go with so much grace, so much ease, and feeling the veils thin in the room and, almost like that, just goosebumps that like, wow, like there's a greater presence here. And getting to see that really showed me, wow, there's way more than what we think is going on just in this three-dimensional, physical, kind of Newtonian physics reality.
Yes.
There's a lot more on the energetic planes that we don't understand yet. And as I was exploring plant medicine myself and all that, it's like, okay, wow, there's just a lot more to all this. And I felt like it was really good work, but ultimately can burn you out a lot. And it really showed me, wow, life is short and precious and we need to live it fully while we're here. We're not just going to like push death off to the side. Oh, I'm not going to think about that. I'm just going to kind of, do my thing and build up all my wealth and do all my stuff. It's more like actually living with a recognition that, wow, we are immortal. Like we're just here for like flash in the pan.
Flash. That's right.
Like the wildflowers blooming and they're just like, here we are. And then these are the cycles. And to kind of see it from a more cosmic perspective, like the universe is not going to like shed a tear when we breathe our last. It's going to be like, okay, here we go.
That's right. Here we go. We're going to keep going. Yes.
That real desire. Like, how do we live in the most meaningful way while we have this breath, while we have these hearts that love, and how can I be of service to people living fully? And
I love that. My mom was in the hospital recently and I saw this exact what you're talking about, where just the look in their eyes were like, they were talking about putting a stent into her heart.
Yeah.
And they had done one and they wanted to do another one. And my mom was just like, she was not happy. She was not comfortable, the whole thing. And I was like, hey guys, I was like, can we talk through this a little bit? I was like, explain to me why this procedure is just so important. Like, do you have statistics for me? Is she going to live another 10 years? Is she going to suddenly wake up and want to do marathons? Like, what's happening here? And they're like, well, it can extend life. I said, okay, what about quality of life?
Yeah.
And they looked at me like, oh, we don't talk about that, And that was really interesting. And I said, look, guys, my mom's not going to suddenly become a vegan and start running marathons at 80 years old. I said, she's going to want to eat croissants and probably a good steak until she's ready and she feels like she's lived a very full life. Yeah. And I want to honor her in whatever her choice is in living out these last however long it is that she has. And you could just see the light bulb go off for them. And they thought, we don't ever think about it this way. Because you're right. Everyone is just so like, don't die. It's like, what? I don't know. I've seen some people through suffering and I can say, oh, sometimes death is a mercy as we allow people to transition out of this body that just, has done its job and is complete.
I love this quote by Ram Dass. He said, death is like taking off a uncomfortable shoe. It's like the shoe is like too tight and you're just, it's just time to take off. Good. I have had many of my psychedelic experiences, and the one that caused me to leave nursing, ultimately, my first grandmother ceremonies, I had a kind of Kundalini awakening experience, a very erotic, beautiful, passionate, like, wow, like folding into like orgasmic union with the universe, with God. I was like, wow, what is this about? Total bliss, total pleasure. Really showed me that our energy system is extremely profound, and what we feel as like inside us versus outside us, and the threshold there between self and other, and that sense of unification with the all that is. They say that orgasm is like the petit mort, the little death, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is my great belief that death can be like the big O, big orgasmic, like union with all, and release of that little shoe.
Yeah. Even think about birth, right? Between death and birth. Think about how birth happens. It happens in all this like amniotic fluid that just like rushes out in this mass, just like kind of like an orgasm. So there's all these similarities that I just go, so many little similarities. And I think they're little jokes from the universe. They're like, hey, this is how we do it.
Like, babies are born and we're like, oh, yay, the best thing ever. Life has come into the world. Oh, and then death, it's like, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. It's like,
Yes.
what's that about?
What's that about? I think in this mortal time that the common thread or the common teaching has just been that it is a sad thing, or that because there's the unknown, that fear of the unknown can be interjected by the people that are teaching it. Because I always think it'd be interesting to have a society where you raise kids without any of those biases around death, and you really celebrate that death is the transition or it's the next thing. And and like, what is different? How differently would we treat it? How differently would we think about it?
Many folks who are exploring the psychedelic path have had all sorts of transcendent ego death kinds of experiences, whether they're challenging or absolutely blissful, have had experiences where they go beyond their normal sense of self. And often they realize, oh, wow, and there's more out there. There's a lot out there that I wouldn't have necessarily thought of as me, but as those like layers, those veils fall, and there's like, wow, there's just this kind of all-encompassing energy that we are all swimming in. I mean, I would say right now I have zero fear of death. I like my life. I'm enjoying it now. But having had those experiences of, wow, what's beyond me? I think that people realize, oh, wow, it's not so bad. And in fact, it can be really marvelously beautiful. And
yes, it can. Now, I heard that you are doing a vision quest in Death Valley in November. What is a vision quest for those that don't know?
Well, I'm turning 40 in November. And, I've had a lot of friends who have done vision quests. This is a traditional rite of passage initiatory process where people, spend some time in preparation for that. And they go out on the land for, in this case, it's going to be 4 days and 4 nights without food. So just water. Okay. And, without a tent, just, my sleeping bag on the ground and just out in the elements, and spending 4 days just being withdrawn from the world and with no distractions, and just being with nature to witness the cycles and to receive some sort of vision, some sort of inspiration for the next chapter. Often these are used to mark different kinds of transition moments in life. And I feel like this birthday is going to be a big transition for me. There's so much of who I am that I'm so proud of and that I've built up to this time. But I also see like kind of I'm ready to mark an even greater step into my responsibility as a creator here in the world, and to create community, create culture, and just seeing that there's more for me to step into, more power, more of my own sovereignty, more.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. Yeah, I've done a lot of medicine journeys, but this is like its own kind of journey.
Yeah.
Fasting and with the silence and with self.
Yeah. Have you ever done a 4-day fast before?
I've never done a 1-day fast.
Oh, wow. Yeah, then if you're not planning on doing any before you get there, I'm going to say you're definitely going to have some visions.
Have you done it?
I have. I grew up actually fasting as a spiritual practice as an adult also. It's actually really great for your system, and it's a beautiful reset. There's people who do it really like once a week that I know that are incredible biohackers that are super healthy, and it's actually a really beautiful way to get very present with yourself in many ways.
Yeah, I just feel like, okay, time to like clear things out and just be with what wants to show up.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I'm excited for you. I think that sounds like a very, very fun adventure. So for those of you that would like to connect with Leslie, Leslie, I know you have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're going to add all of your links to the show notes, but what's the easiest way? Is there one particular place that you like to connect with people most?
Yeah, Facebook.
Okay, awesome. So it's facebook.com/leslie.grace.love. That's where you will find her. Also, quick fun fact. I see that you have been to Burning Man 9 times. It's right around the corner. Are you going?
I am not going this year.
Okay.
And I have to say, it's actually the first year that I'm having some joy of missing out. I'm really I have no desire to go. And I've just been traveling this whole year and really looking forward to grounding and resting. And I'll get to hear all the stories of the folks that come back.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, I mean, Burning Man is a major initiation.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I did my first. It's its own vision quest. I have been. And I do love the experience. I love watching other people have their experiences during Burning Man. And it's a joyous place for sure. At least that's what I find from it, and can be full of lessons and hardships that you have a lot of support for, which is always really nice.
You have to face these situations that you would never, oh my God, lose your friends in the middle of the night. And you're like,
totally
on my own. I know. Where's my bike?
Yes, yeah, we're a dust storm that you don't know how long it's going to last. All of the yes. Is the nighttime going to be hot? Is it going to be cold? What's it going to be? It's all a mystery. Each day has its own little magic. I also have JOMO this year as well, so I'm okay with missing out this time. Thank you so much, Leslie, for coming on the show and sharing your just wisdom. And yes, I think you're doing amazing work in the world. So for our seekers, our successful seekers, I would imagine couples, anyone looking to go deeper and to unlock what's missing, Leslie is the person you're going to want to reach out to, and she will be an excellent guide for you as you journey through this adventure that we call life.
One step at a time, baby.
That's right. That's right. Awesome. Well, join us next week for a new show. Thank you all for listening. If you like the show, please share, rate it, and like it. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on today's show. I hope that today's session inspires you to live an aligned life where you get to take complete ownership of your feelings and decisions to live in your truth. You can connect with me more at www.maryd.com. You can also catch us on YouTube at The Mary D Show. Head on over to Instagram and Facebook and type in @TheMaryD and just look for the little blue check to ensure you're on my official page.